Good day and welcome to the inaugural edition of CLG News Senior Living Edition. I'm your host, Anthony Suntay, and the next guest we have is a senior partner and co-founder of Plan for Life, a subsidiary of Carlaw Group. Carlaw Group is a comprehensive elder firm handling various aspects of senior living, including Medicaid, guardianship, probate, and estate planning. Our guest, Brian Litt, predominantly handles the Medicaid practice of the firm and has some very important information for seniors who are facing difficult transitions to nursing home and assisted living facilities. As a senior partner of Carlaw Group, Brian has handled almost 4,000 Medicaid cases in his career, spanning over 20 years, and has been a featured guest speaker at the Florida Bar Military Law Symposium and frequently presents in-person seminars at various nursing care facilities all throughout the state of Florida. Brian, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Anthony. It's a pleasure to be here. I look forward to sharing this information that people need during this desperate phase of their life. People really need this information. It's kind of a well-kept secret. The whole Medicaid guidelines, how to qualify, it's really a well-kept secret, and people don't realize how easy it really can be to actually qualify.
Okay, Brian, talk to us about why you got into Medicaid law.
So when I first came out of law school, I wasn't handling anything elder law related. I was involved in foreclosure defense, and I didn't know a lot of these government programs, a lot of these guidelines, and I saw my grandfather at the time, who has now passed away, but at the time, he was spending thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars a month on his care. He was transitioning from assisted living over to skilled nursing and then ultimately to long-term care. And he spent every dime that he had. He died with nothing. And now that I'm aware of this program, I saw what it did to him, and it's quite sad. I saw how it had affected him. He was upset that he couldn't leave a legacy behind for his family. And that's important to a lot of people. Well, I can't do anything about my grandfather, but I can certainly help everybody else's grandfather through this situation. And so that's what gives me the passion to help seniors now, is seeing what it did to my family and trying to right that wrong with everybody else.
Okay, so we're going to go through this. I'm especially interested in the area of Medicaid. Like many, I have personally been affected by loved ones who require nursing home care, only to find out that the cost is very prohibitive.
Very true. The average cost of an assisted living facility can be about $47.50 a month. The average income is nowhere near that high. So people are having to come out of pocket for some of these things, and the money's just running out. So the higher level of care, that skilled nursing facility, that can be about $13,000 a month.
Wow.
That's really an intense amount of money, and people just don't have this kind of money, so they need to look for these government programs to be able to supplement how they're going to pay for it.
Okay, plain and simply put, how do families afford such and that exorbitant cost?
Well, Anthony, it's kind of a complicated question. A lot of them don't afford it. That's the answer. If they don't have the information about Medicaid, if they don't have the information about some of these other government programs that are available, a lot of them just give up, and that can be a dangerous situation. So let's take a typical client. We're going to call him Bob Smith. And the kind of advice that he might receive, just being out in the world, he didn't go seek Medicaid counsel. He just started talking to friends, talking to people that are unfamiliar with Medicaid guidelines. Well, they're going to give him a lot of misinformation. Many families are unaware of various federal and state programs that will pay for a large portion of this type of care. As such, many seniors will choose to forego the care that they desperately need. This can endanger the lives of the patients. It can cause an enormous strain on the families. I mean, everybody here has been through that kind of situation where you're caring for a loved one that's a little elderly at home. It's difficult. It is really a tough road. They sacrifice a lot of time, energy, and often they lose income as well. I mean, this caretaker, a son or a daughter, sometimes they have to give up their job just to take care of the elderly person. So, this is what a lot of families are faced with.
Okay, so you're saying that Medicaid will provide the ability for seniors who can't afford $13,000 a month, which is most of us really, to obtain care at these expensive facilities?
Absolutely. So in addition to Medicaid, if you're a former veteran or a spouse of a veteran, the VA has a program called Aid in Attendance. And that can also provide, some of the much needed funding for these assisted living facilities. And it can also provide some care at home as well.
Okay. So are these programs easy to apply for, and can anybody apply for it on their own?
The problem, the problem that you have is that I think according to most recent statistics, the pro se filings of Medicaid applications, which is people that file on their own, they're being denied over half the time. It's a pretty complex area. Medicaid and VA, they're very complex. They have a lot of procedural and technical aspects. And a lot of times it's just too difficult for a novice to navigate properly. We handle many applications where people were originally denied, the pro se filing. They come to us, they say, well, we've been denied 2-3 times. Is there anything that we can do? And usually it's a pretty easy fix, but it's something that the novice just wouldn't know. That's the bottom line.
Okay, so what's the first step for seniors that they should take to prepare themselves for this entire process?
Well, number one, without a doubt, is naming a power of attorney. So the power of attorney document becomes essential and critical to Medicaid or VA planning, really anything having to do with this stage of life. A lot of people, they'll go on a website. They don't want to pay for a power of attorney. They're trying to find a way to do it themselves, right?
Simplify things.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, as you'll see, it turns out not being so simple, and they've caused themselves more problems. Well, they try to create a power of attorney document. They think they're doing the right thing. But the power of attorney document that they find on a reputable senior website, or at least that they think that is, the power of attorney doesn't work when it comes to Medicaid, when it comes to certain things that need to be done for seniors in the future. For example, it does not allow the creation of what's called an inter vivos trust, which means if you're over income in Medicaid, that power of attorney doesn't work. And so at that point, we either have to get a new power of attorney document created, but what if Bob Smith is no longer able to sign? That creates a big problem. Now we need to take a look at guardianship, which is a much more complicated and lengthy process. And so this all could have been alleviated by using the proper power of attorney document from the start. Now, one of the things that we do at Carr Law Group is we provide our power of attorney documents for free. Now, we're not going to notarize the document, we're not going to create an attorney-client relationship, but we will provide the sample document at no cost to our clients because it's kind of our mission. We believe that everybody should have a free power of attorney document that is proper, something that you can rely on that's going to work in the future. Going online and doing it yourself, it really doesn't work out very well sometimes.
Okay, so now you've named a trusted family member as a power of attorney. What types of assistance should the power of attorney be seeking when their loved one has to enter the nursing facility?
So the power of attorney, they need to understand Medicaid eligibility requirements, which can be complicated, or they can go to somebody like us to assist them with that process. But there are strict rules that Medicaid has regarding income, assets. Let's take a look at the 2025 Medicaid guidelines. So we'll throw that up on the screen now. Current 2025 Medicaid guidelines, the countable assets, so that's money in the bank. Now that does not count your primary residence, so anybody that owns a home, don't worry about that. As long as it's not a big mansion, you should be fine. But the countable assets have to be below $2,000. So that's kind of money in the bank, investment accounts, things like that. The income should be below $2,901 a month. The level of care should also be deemed appropriate. They're going to actually take a look at the medical charts and make sure that the placement is appropriate for that client. There's also a 5-year look-back period for Medicaid. That means that we can't just simply gift away all the money and then apply for Medicaid. And so there are things that we do to assist with that 5-year look-back period. It's not something that is written in stone. There are ways around that and things that are exempt from that 5-year look-back period. We also try to present the latest numbers to our clients. I mean, for 2025, we show them all the figures, and we prepare a plan that is going to accommodate and bring them within those guidelines.
Okay, next question. So if someone does not meet the qualifications, automatically, are they ineligible?
Not at all. So a lot of people think that. They'll go to the Department of Children and Families website, they'll take a look at the Medicaid guidelines, and they'll say, oh, well, my income is over $2,901 a month. I guess I don't qualify, too bad. They don't do anything to seek counsel, even though that's a very simple fix. Let's take a look at Bob Smith. Okay, we're gonna put up Bob Smith's, and remember, Bob Smith is a fictitious client, but let's just say that he's like most. He's a single male. He's 76 years old. Let's say that his income from Social Security is $2,500, and his pension is $1,000. Pretty typical amount for most people. So total income is $3,500. Well, he's over income, right? As far as assets are concerned, he's got $5,000 in a Wells Fargo bank checking account. He's got another $25,000 in savings, and he's got an IRA that has $42,000. That IRA is receiving about $1,000 a year in required minimum distribution. Now, according to the Medicaid guidelines, Bob has too much in savings. He has too many assets to qualify. So we can use different strategies to convert the excess assets by transferring it to somebody who's providing care for him. Bob has a loving son or daughter, and so they've been providing care, and we can pay them for that care, and we can reduce those assets by creating something called a personal services contract. And that will actually not be subject to that 5-year look-back period. So we're not gifting the money. We're paying a caretaker and reducing the estate size in a Medicaid compliant way. As far as the income, you take a look at his income is $3,500, $2,901 is the max. Is that game over? No, not at all. We do have planning for the income as well. We can create something called a qualified income trust. And that will allow his income, his additional income, to not be considered, and that'll be exempt from Medicaid as well. So we do have legal strategies in place to be able to help families to navigate these issues every day.
Okay, so you mentioned a program for veterans and their spouses. Mm-hmm. Now, what are the benefits and qualifications of that particular program?
So you're talking about the VA Aid and Attendance Program. It's specifically designed to help veterans or spouses who need help with their 5 activities of daily living. Grooming, feeding, bathing, et cetera, et cetera. And so the current VA guidelines, we'll throw those on the screen now. So there's the DD-214, which is what shows your military service. It must show 90 continuous days of service with at least 1 day during a designated wartime. There are plenty of wartimes available. Combat zone service is not required. So we'll go through the wartime dates. You got World War II, December 7th to 1941 to December 31st, 1946. The Korean conflict, June 27th, 1950 to January 31st, 1955. Vietnam, February 28th, 1961 to May 7th, 1975. And then you have the Gulf War, which is August 2nd, 1990 through really the present. I mean, it's still ongoing. And so there are a lot of periods of wartime, and you only had to have served 1 day during wartime. So, it's something that you can qualify for if you fit those guidelines. The asset limit needs to be $159,240. Now, if you're over assets, we can still provide that type of planning that will reduce those assets down as well. There's a 3-year look-back period for the VA, so again, you can't just simply gift all your money away. We do have to create further planning for somebody who's over asset. Let's take a look at the benefit amounts, and they're pretty extensive. A veteran with no spouse or dependent child can get $23.58 per month, so that would be Bob Smith. Bob Smith is single, he doesn't have any dependents, doesn't have a spouse. He can get $23.58 per month toward his care. If there's a veteran with a spouse or a dependent child, then that goes up to $27.95 per month. Surviving spouse with no dependent child, $15.15 per month. Surviving spouse with a dependent child, $1,808 per month. So for 2025, eligible individuals receive hundreds or even over thousands of dollars a month in additional assistance. Just like Medicaid, it has its own set of rules, but many seniors qualify, and a lot of times they don't even know the program exists.
Okay, so do you have to pick one program compared to another one?
No, you do not. So in some cases, we can stack the benefits. We can have the VA aid and attendance benefit and the Medicaid benefit side by side in an assisted living facility. For your higher level of care, Medicaid covers all of that, the nursing home care. So really, it's just for the assisted living part that we can stack benefits. But if the client's income is so low that the Medicaid credit is not covering everything, we can then look to VA to stack the benefits on top of that. And that will give them even more power to be able to pay for that assisted living facility.
Okay, the next question obviously is, what are some of the common problems that you see families going through in this entire process?
Really, it's a failure to plan. The time to plan for this problem is now, while you're younger and you're in good shape. There are things that you can do. You can secure your important documents, the power of attorney document, make it easily accessible. Sometimes somebody will do a power of attorney document and nobody can find it. Well, that doesn't help, right? Nobody can act if they don't have the document. Banking records, making sure that you're keeping excellent banking records, because when it's time to apply for Medicaid or VA or any type of government benefits, they're going to want to see all of the banking records. They do an exhaustive asset search to see what is available to that client, and we need to show them every bank account that they have. If your records are a mess, or if you're somebody who has 26 different checking accounts, you're making it very difficult for the power of attorney. So basically, just make it as simple as possible for your power of attorney to act on your behalf. The other problem that we have is failure to disclose all assets. And that, again, comes from the planning. If Bob Smith has, small bank accounts somewhere and the power of attorney doesn't know about it, that creates a major problem, because the power of attorney can only hire us and give us the information that they have. If we have undisclosed assets, they come up later, 2 months down the road, when Medicaid is doing their asset search, we're dead in the water. We have to restart that process all over again.
Okay, with everything that you've said, you've now given all the seniors a whole lot to think about here today. If they decide to move forward in this process, how do they contact you? And the big question is, what does all of this cost?
Well, Anthony, so the first step would be to contact Carr Law Group at the number below. We'll throw the number on the screen, and schedule a free initial consultation.
Okay, you don't charge anything at all for consultation?
Zero. We do not charge for an initial consultation. I don't believe that accessing information should cost people money. So I've made the decision to do free consultations so families can gain the information needed and make a proper decision without incurring any cost whatsoever. There's no obligation. Should you decide to move forward after the consultation, Carr Law Group charges a flat fee for our services. So we're not keeping the meter running. You know how most attorneys, every time they get a phone call, they have to record, well, that was a 6-minute phone call, and they charge Bob Smith's family. We don't do that. We charge a flat fee because people that are going through this situation, they want to know what the actual cost is. And so the typical fee is usually less than a 2 or 3 week stay in a facility like this. So, your break-even point is certainly within the first month of a stay at the facility. One other interesting thing about our firm is that we offer a money-back guarantee for our services, and that is put in writing via our retainer agreement. To be very clear, it is illegal to guarantee a Medicaid approval, so that's not what we're doing. Anybody that makes you that type of guarantee is breaking the law. What we are guaranteeing is that if for some reason, due to fault of our own, we are unable to achieve a Medicaid approval, we will refund your money back for the legal services that you paid us.
Okay, Brian, thank you very much for being our guest. To everybody watching, don't wait until it's too late. Contact Carr Law Group at this number.